David had too much to drink. When he got home, he roughly tore off my nightgown and pushed me onto the bed to kiss me. We hadn't had intimacy in a long time. Since the company went public, he rarely even came home. This sudden passion caught me off guard. But just as we were about to reach the peak, he held me tightly and couldn't help but call out, "Chloe." My head exploded. He instantly went cold. He rolled off me and sat on the edge of the bed with his back to me. The bedroom light wasn't on, it was very dark. David was silent for a long time. After putting out the last cigarette, he spoke in a low voice, "Sarah, let's get a divorce. Chloe doesn't want my money, she just wants recognition. I have to give it to her." David and I had been together for 11 years, from dating to marriage. He was always the perfect husband in other people's eyes. Successful in his career, loving towards me, and devoted to his family. So, before tonight, I never thought he would cheat. My chest felt like it was crushed by a heavy stone, making it hard to breathe. I asked him, my voice choked with tears, when was the first time? The moonlight was like frost. It squeezed coldly through the window pane into the room, landing on David. He frowned unconsciously. 2 years ago, when I went on a business trip to Chicago. I remember that trip. David went to Chicago to win back a big deal. At the time, the company was facing a crisis. He was under a lot of pressure. That night, I was feeling really down. Chloe suddenly appeared at the hotel room door. She was completely drenched from the heavy rain, like a miserable, pitiful little rabbit. She rushed into my arms. I stared at the dark ceiling, tears streaming silently. What was I doing that night? David's mother had fallen while bathing, injuring her leg, and ended up in the emergency room. I rushed Lily to her mother's place and hurried to the hospital overnight. Afraid of worrying David, I kept it from him and even took a moment to send him encouraging messages. "Don't be discouraged, hubby, I believe in you. No matter what, our daughter and I will always be by your side. If worst comes to worst, we can sell the house to supplement funds. As long as our family of 3 is okay, that's better than anything." David didn't reply to my message for the first time. I naively thought he was tired and had fallen asleep. But it turned out he was with another woman. Being intimate. It had already been 2 years. David had hidden it so well. We had just celebrated our 7th wedding anniversary at the end of last month. In front of the whole family, he gave me a bouquet of roses and a diamond bracelet. "Honey, you've worked hard taking care of the family all these years. Happy anniversary." He held me and our daughter in his arms. My mother even took a family photo specifically that day. That photo is still pinned to the top of my social media feed. The silence around us was deathly, the oppression spreading like a tide. "David, if you weren't a multimillionaire executive now, would that woman still be with you?" David was fiddling with a silver lighter in his hand. Silent. Building up to something. The wind suddenly picked up outside. A lightning bolt tore through the night sky. In that instant, he suddenly spoke, his voice so steady there was barely a ripple. "Sarah, I know you love me. But Chloe isn't that kind of woman who loves money. For these past 2 years, she's been without recognition, enduring grievances. I can't let her down anymore." So, he would let me down instead? In New York City, a place where real estate is incredibly expensive, we were so poor back then that we had to squeeze into a cramped studio apartment less than 20 square meters. We lived there for 3 years. No heating in the winter, no air conditioning in the summer. Cockroaches often crawled onto our arms in the middle of the night. I thought love could conquer all. But now, it seemed the outcome was just that. "David, have you forgotten? When we got married back then, you cried and swore you'd be good to me for life." He listened to this, thinking slowly for a few seconds. Then he said tiredly and indifferently, "Sarah, but now we're both 30. After meeting Chloe, I finally understood what love is." Hearing this, I expected to become hysterical. At least I should have rushed up and grabbed David's collar, cursed him and hit him. But I was surprisingly calm. Even though tears were welling up in my eyes, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. On the nightstand, David's cell phone suddenly rang. The lit screen was particularly blinding in the darkness. Silence all around. I heard a clingy and tearful girl's voice come from the phone. "David, I know I shouldn't call you when you're home, but it's thundering outside, and I'm really scared." A stifling feeling spread from my chest, blocking my breath. But David lowered his voice and coaxed her. "It's okay, I've talked to her. Be a good girl, lie down under the covers. I'll come to your place tonight." It was 2 in the morning. I was sitting in David's home office. He always had a habit of backing up chat logs, afraid of losing information from important clients. Fortunately, he hadn't changed his screen lock password. It was still our daughter's birthday. I scrolled through his dense chat history with Chloe. There were exactly 26,893 messages. Last week, Chloe messaged David. "David, I cooked several dishes tonight. This is my first time cooking. I learned just for you. Hurry and praise me." David replied instantly. "Chloe, you don't have to put yourself out to please me. You're already wonderful just the way you are." Chloe sent a crying with emoji. "Boo-hoo-hoo, David, you're going to spoil me like this. What does it matter? A man should spoil his woman." My hand trembling, I scrolled further up. The chat history. Last month, the same day as my 7th wedding anniversary with David, he had been intimate with Chloe that afternoon. Even on his way home, he didn't forget to message her to remind her. "It still looks a little red. Remember to apply some more ointment tonight, okay?" Chloe sent a shy emoji. "Got it, my little worrier. It's all your fault. I'm never doing that again. But David, could you please promise me you won't touch her again? The thought of you kissing her makes my heart ache so much I feel like I'm dying." Silly girl, 8 times in one afternoon. I'm not made of steel. I scrolled for a long, long time. Finally, I found the chat history from 2 years ago, after they had been intimate for the first time. Back then, Chloe didn't call him David. "Mr. G, what happened last night was my choice. You don't need to be responsible. I know you were drunk when you held me and kissed me like that. I understand. I'm already content just to have had you. But I still want you to know, you were my first man." I could tell David was conflicted at the time. He replied in the late hours of the morning. "That little bit of alcohol wasn't enough to get me drunk. I couldn't help myself. That's why I kissed you. I felt sick and couldn't read anymore." After backing up all their chat logs onto a USB drive, I hugged myself, curled up in the chair, a suppressed sob escaping my throat. Wanting to cry out loud but having to stifle it, afraid of waking my daughter sleeping next door, my heart felt like it was being sliced by 1,000 shards. After so many years, I had gotten used to David being by my side. Cutting him off so suddenly, it would be a lie to say it didn't hurt at all. After I calmed down, I called my father, who was far away in London. It was 8 hours behind New York City there, so it was just evening. "Dad, David cheated, and I'm getting a divorce. Please withdraw the money you invested in his company." David never knew. When the company was on the verge of bankruptcy, it was my father who invested a sum of money as an investor, helping him through the tough time. Because my parents divorced when I was very young, I stayed in the country and lived with my mother. It was only a few years ago that I reconnected with my father, learning that he had started a company abroad and had become successful. And to help David get the investment money, I specifically flew abroad, only to be met with disdain and difficulty from my stepmother. My stepmother's son squirted water in my face with a water gun, and I had to endure it. My stepmother made me massage her legs and pour water for her foot bath, and I had to put on a smiling face. Even at the dinner table, my stepmother hinted that I was a beggar asking for money, calling me bad luck, and I had to pretend not to understand. Although my father favored sons, but because he always felt guilty towards me, he agreed to help David. And because my mother hated my father so much. So, I never dared to mention this matter. David, however, thought it was his own exceptional ability that attracted investors. I knew he cared about appearances, so I didn't expose him. I didn't sleep all night. The next day, I took Lily to preschool as usual, curious about what Chloe looked like. so I went to the coffee shop across from David's company. I sat by the window. I waited for 3 hours. Finally, in the evening, David came out. He was with a young, pretty girl who smiled sweetly. I messaged my mother to pick up Lily from preschool. Afraid of attracting David's attention, I just hailed a taxi and followed his car. The car drove into a newly built upscale neighborhood. By the riverside. There were very few people here. Only the lights in David's villa were on. The second-floor balcony door wasn't closed. The wind blew the white curtains back and forth. Through the gap, I saw Chloe wearing a bunny costume with pink ears on her head and a black collar/chain around her neck. David was leaning on the sofa, letting Chloe kneel smilingly on his lap, biting open his shirt buttons one by one with her mouth. His eyes were fixed on her, full of desire, as if he wanted to devour her. Unlike with me, when he was just going through the motions. Chloe's head moved down along his lower abdomen. David's body trembled suddenly, his throat constricting. A few minutes later, David impatiently pulled Chloe into his arms, lowered his head, and kissed her fiercely. I watched them hold each other tightly. Watched David press Chloe against the picture window. Their entangled, moving bodies were silhouetted on the white curtains. I raised my cell phone. Zooming in the lens, I took multiple rapid shots and recorded a video. Evidence was more useful than crying and making a scene. You can't really appeal to a cheating man's conscience. That night, after tucking Lily into bed, I messaged David, saying I agreed to the divorce but it had to wait until after our daughter's 5th birthday next month, because withdrawing the investment would take time to arrange. But I didn't expect David, who was usually so composed, would be so impatient. At a mutual friend's birthday party, he knew I would be there, yet he openly brought Chloe with him. I was late because of traffic. At the door of the private room, I heard Mark, David's friend, trying to reason with him. No way, David, are you serious? These young girls aren't simple-minded. You really shouldn't be fooled by their pretty faces. Sarah was genuinely with you, grinding through the hard times together. She's someone who truly wanted to build a life with you. David was sitting back in his chair with his legs crossed, smoking. Mark, I know you mean well. But Chloe isn't the kind of girl you think she is. She's as pure as a blank slate. Whenever he mentioned her, David's tone would unconsciously soften. But when he meant Ionied me, it was filled with deep frustration. I admit Sarah is a good woman. But even a goddess gets boring after 10 years. I can't get it up when I look at her anymore. All she talks about now is mundane family matters. She restricts me everywhere, doesn't let me eat cold things, controls my drinking and smoking. This kind of life, where you can see the end from the beginning, is like stagnant water, and I dream of escaping it. But Chloe is different. She'll play around with me on the beach, she'll demand a kiss on the street on a snowy day, and she'll drag me to splash in puddles like a cute little crazy person on a rainy day. When I'm with her, I'm not Lily's dad, not Sarah's husband, not my parents' son. I'm just David. I can do whatever I want. After hearing this, Mark didn't want to say anything more. He just patted David on the shoulder, speaking with the tone of someone who had been through it before. But David, you have to be grounded. Dating can be romantic, but marriage is all about the mundane details. I'm telling you this now, you'll regret losing Sarah sooner or later. David put out his cigarette, slightly annoyed. Don't worry, there's no such word as regret in David's life. All these years I've been making money and supporting the family. Sarah has provided for her/supported her financially. Without me, where would she enjoy this kind of life? I haven't treated her badly. I want to live for myself for the rest of my life. Before David's words had faded, I pushed the door open and walked in. The atmosphere in the private room suddenly turned awkward. Everyone's eyes shifted back and forth between me, David, and Chloe. I pretended not to see them. Holding the birthday cake, I walked confidently towards the birthday girl, Jessica. Happy birthday, dear. She was Mark's wife, a bold and forthright woman. We were good friends. During dinner, Jessica, wanting to help me out, deliberately made things difficult. Tea for Chloe. Hey, Chloe, there's a rule in our circle. People who are at the table for the first time have to toast everyone here. First drink, you toast Sarah. The air instantly became extremely tense. Everyone's eyes focused on Chloe. It was the first time I had looked closely at her tonight. She wore a pale pink dress, her hair hung smoothly on her shoulders, looking fragile and innocent. Chloe's fingers gently held the wine glass, her voice as soft as a mosquito's hum. I don't drink. Jessica sneered, practice makes perfect. Since you're David's mistress now, we'll inevitably see each other often in the future. Chloe's face changed. She bit her lip, tears glistening, as if she had suffered a great injustice. David couldn't sit still. Jessica, don't make it hard for her. She's just a young girl, she's sensitive, unlike you. I'll drink this for her. I looked up at David. His gaze flickered away for a moment. Then he looked back at me steadily. Oh, already protecting her? Jessica sneered, placing her wine glass heavily on the table with a thud. David, you're quite good at caring for others. Why don't I see you caring for your own wife? He frowned deeply, his tone also turning cold. Jessica, this is our private matter. Don't interfere. Mark was pulling on Jessica's clothes under the table, but she shrugged him off. Private matter? Jessica's voice suddenly rose. You're protecting your mistress in front of all these people, and you call it a private matter? David, have you no shame? The atmosphere at the table completely froze. Some lowered their heads, pretending to drink. Some secretly glanced at me, seemingly wanting to see my reaction. I remained seated, not a ripple on my face. Chloe, on the other hand, had red eyes, her voice choked. I'm sorry, David, it's all my fault. I shouldn't have come. Saying this, she stood up and ran out crying. David glared at me, then also got up and chased after her. Sarah, are you okay? Jessica's voice was filled with concern. I shook my head. Thank you, Jessica. She sighed, looking at me with sympathy. You're always so calm. If it were me, I would have flipped the table by now. I talked with Jessica for a while longer. She got up to take a phone call outside. I also went to the restroom and unexpectedly ran into Chloe, whom David had already comforted. She was standing in front of the mirror, reapplying her makeup. The overhead light was stark white, shining on both of us. Without David present, Chloe dropped the innocent act and asked me angrily, Sarah, did you deliberately make Jessica make things difficult for me? Is there any need for that? She looked directly at me, her eyes challenging. Of course there is. David is going to divorce you. You're jealous of me, you hate me, aren't you? My voice was cold. Jealous of what? Jealous that you're young and a mistress, ruining other people's families? Or jealous that you picked up the man I was done with? Chloe's eyes widened like saucers, fury surging within them. Stop being stubborn, Sarah. David doesn't love you anymore. The person he loves is me. No matter how unwilling you are, you can't change this fact. Making things difficult for me will only make him dislike you more. How pathetic. I looked at her, my gaze unwavering. For the divorce, David is the party at fault. I will make him leave with nothing. By then, I'll have a house, money, and a daughter. That kind of life will be carefree and happy. What's pathetic about that? I chuckled softly. On the other hand, you, a girl in her 20s, are about to serve an entire family. Carrying bedpans and changing diapers for a paralyzed mother-in-law, and dealing with a demanding sister-in-law, that's truly pathetic. A flicker of panic crossed Chloe's eyes. But she quickly regained her composure and insisted. Sarah, you wish. You haven't worked these past few years, all tea. Money came from David alone. Why should you get it all? You won't get David or his money. Just as I thought. All she cared about was where David's money would go. I wondered if she could handle it the day David truly became broke. The outcome was set. I couldn't be bothered with her anymore and turned to leave the restroom. In the hallway, I ran into David. He immediately started questioning me. Sarah, why did you tell Jessica to make things difficult for Chloe? I never knew you were such a malicious person. You were the one who said you agreed to the divorce, that's why I brought Chloe to the party. Besides, I'm the one who cheated, I'm the one who wronged you. If you have any anger, direct it at me. Chloe is just a young girl, she can't handle the humiliation from you and Jessica. I looked at David and sneered. I never knew your IQ was so low before. Chloe came out of the restroom then. Seeing David, she ran into his arms like a startled deer. 2 tears clung to her eyelashes, about to fall, looking utterly pitiful. She spoke, appearing sensible and considering the bigger picture. David, it's really okay if I suffer a little injustice. Please don't make things difficult for Sarah's sister because of me, I beg you. David raised his hand to wipe her tears, his tone softening. You're always so self-sacrificing, thinking of me. From now on, I won't let you bear these things alone anymore. Chloe lowered her head. Tears streamed down from her eyes, falling one by one onto David's shirt, burning his heart. With those words from you, David, my life is complete. Seeing this performance felt sickening, another second was too much. I turned and left indifferently. I sent Jessica a message, honey, sorry for ruining your birthday party tonight. I'll treat you to a spa day soon. As I walked out of the restaurant, the night wind hit my face. I looked up at the night sky. The stars were sparse. The moonlight was dim. I couldn't wait to see David's expression the moment he became broke. Chloe, you'll never be a wealthy wife in this lifetime. I got home at 10 o'clock at night. Lily was asleep. My mother was slumped on the living room sofa, dozing. Her cell phone slipped from her hand and clattered onto the floor. My mother woke up with a start. Just as she saw me taking off my coat and hanging it on the sofa, she glanced behind me and grumbled, David didn't come back again? It's so late, and he's not worried about you being alone. I don't know how much money he earns every day, but he never comes home. Sarah, I'm not lecturing you, but pay attention. Young women outside are eyeing successful men like David in their 30s. Don't let someone sneak in without you knowing. You need to maintain your marital relationship. My mother hated cheating the most. Because my father had cheated back then. I was only 6 when they divorced. I still remember my mother screaming and crying, clinging to my father's leg, begging him not to leave. But my father didn't look back. From then on, my mother told everyone my father was dead. Even David thought so. I didn't know how to tell my mother about the divorce. Just looking at her, I felt wronged. My mother asked me urgently, "What's wrong, darling? Why are your eyes red? What happened?" I bit my lip, speaking with difficulty. "Mom, David and I are getting a divorce. He has someone else." My mother froze for a few seconds. She slapped me on the shoulder. Disappointed in me. "What did I tell you? I said it wasn't right for him to be gone so often. I told you to pay attention, but you insisted he wasn't that kind of person. Now look, you're a 30-year-old woman with a kid. What are you going to do after the divorce? Who will want you? You're going to suffer." She paced back and forth in front of the coffee table, scolding me for a good 15 minutes. Finally, she warned me, "Sarah, you are not allowed to get a divorce. Do you hear me? You don't have to worry about this. I'll handle it." My mother was impetuous and stormed out the door in a rage. I couldn't stop her at all. Lily was woken up by the noise and started crying loudly. I had no choice but to go into the room to comfort her. David never expected Sarah's mother to come looking for him. In the office, the usually fiery old woman stood hesitantly before him now, her eyes filled with a never-before-seen plea. "David, you know, Sarah is a poor child. Her father died young, and I raised her alone. She suffered a lot with me. Then she married you, and I thought she could finally have a good life. But now, how can you divorce?" David sat behind the desk, his brows slightly furrowed. "Mom, I know you feel for Sarah, but you can't force feelings. There's no love left between us." Sarah's mother's voice suddenly became sharp. "What do you mean no love? Back when you were dirt poor, why didn't you say there was no love? You knelt before me back then and said you'd be good to Sarah for life. Now that you've become successful, you say there's no love? The guilt in David's eyes deepened. He sighed, his tone softening. Mom, I wronged Sarah, and I wronged you too. But don't worry, I will compensate Sarah. Compensate? Sarah's mother sneered, but tears streamed down her face uncontrollably. Does Sarah want your money? Do you know how much she suffered for you? When you were starting your business, she stayed up late every day helping you organize documents, accompanying you to socialize, drinking until she had stomach issues / ended up in the hospital without a word. Now that you're successful, you want to abandon her? David, are you even human? David's fists were clenched tightly, his voice somewhat hoarse. Mom, I know Sarah sacrificed a lot for me, and I'm grateful to her. But things between us can't go back. Sarah's mother suddenly knelt before David. He quickly stepped forward to help her up, his voice filled with panic. Mom, don't do this. Please get up. But Sarah's mother clutched his arm tightly, her voice trembling. David, I beg you. Don't get a divorce, okay? Everything we've been through, just take pity on Sarah. And Lily is only 5, can you really bear to let her lose her dad? David's hand trembled slightly, the guilt in his eyes almost overflowing. But just then, the cell phone on the desk vibrated. It was a message from Chloe. David, I just got out of the hospital. The test results really show I'm pregnant. David, you're so potent. I'm going to be a mom. I'm so touched. I want to cry. David hardened his heart, gritting his teeth and saying, Mom, I can't promise you that. Sarah's mother's body stiffened, then she slowly released his arm and slapped David hard across the face. Slap! The crisp sound of the slap echoed in the office. David's face was turned to the side. He didn't dodge or speak. David, you'll get your comeuppance. With that, Sarah's mother turned and stumbled out. Her back was hunched, as if she had aged many years in an instant. I hadn't seen David since Jessica's birthday party. The evening of my daughter Lily's birthday finally arrived. I had promised her a long time ago that she could invite her preschool friends to our home for her birthday, and her mom and dad would both be there with her. Lily had been looking forward to it for a long time. I also demanded that David must attend. Before the birthday party, I specifically warned him. Even if we had to fake it, we had to act like a loving couple. We couldn't let Lily lose face in front of her friends and their parents, or let them see anything was wrong. As soon as the birthday party was over, we would proceed with the divorce immediately. David agreed. The living room was filled with colorful balloons. Happy birthday letter banners were hung on the wall. There was a birthday cake on the dining table with 5 candles. Lily wore a pink princess dress and a sparkly little crown on her head, happily saying, Daddy, Mommy, let's make a wish together. She stood in front of the cake, hands clasped, eyes closed. David and I crouched on either side of her. We had gentle smiles on our faces, looking very much like a loving couple. I wish. Lily thought seriously for a moment, her voice soft and sweet. I wish Daddy wouldn't be so busy with work so he can spend more time with Mommy and me. David's smile froze for a second. My eyes welled up. After Lily made her wish, David reached out and hugged both me and our daughter. Daddy and Mommy will blow out the candles with you, okay? Okay, okay. Lily's eyes curved into crescents when she smiled. 1, 2, 3, the moment the candlelight went out. Applause and cheers erupted in the living room. The children gathered around, chattering excitedly. The parents smiled and offered congratulations. Lily happily kissed both me and David on the cheek. Daddy, Mommy, I love you the most. David's throat constricted, and he seemed about to say something, but in the end, he just ruffled Lily's hair, his voice slightly hoarse. Daddy loves you too. I lowered my head to hide my reddening eyes, a smile still on my lips. Just then, the doorbell rang. I'll get it. A kind parent quickly walked towards the door. The door opened, and Chloe's voice rang out, Lily, Auntie brought you a birthday present. I looked up, my heart sinking. Chloe stood at the door, a smile on her lips, wearing a maternity radiation shield vest. She walked in carrying the gift. Every step felt like she was stepping on my nerves. I turned my head and glared fiercely at David. His brows furrowed slightly, he clearly hadn't expected Chloe to show up either. Chloe walked over and crouched in front of Lily. Little Lily, happy birthday. Lily frowned slightly and asked her, "Who are you?" "Me, I'm your daddy's girl. Friend and your future." Slap. Before Chloe could finish speaking, I slapped her across the face. Chloe staggered and fell onto the floor, the gift box in her hand tumbling far away. The living room was completely silent, everyone was stunned. Even David was frozen in place. Chloe covered her face, her eyes instantly turning red, her voice trembling. "Sarah's sister, I just came to bring a gift. Why did you hit me?" She quickly felt her stomach, afraid that people wouldn't see she was pregnant. David finally reacted and rushed over to help her up, his voice anxious. "How do you feel? Did you get hurt anywhere?" Chloe leaned into his arms, tears streaming down. "David, I'm okay. It just hurts a little in my stomach." David looked up at me, his eyes full of resentment. "Sarah, you've gone too far. She's pregnant. How could you hit her?" "I've gone too far?" I pulled Lily into my arms and sneered. "She said something like that at my daughter's birthday party. Who is really going too far?" "David, have you forgotten what you promised me?" He was left speechless by my retort. Only then did he remember he had promised me a happy and respectable birthday party for Lily. He looked at Lily, who was startled and frozen, then down at Chloe in his arms, and finally said in a low voice, "Chloe, I promise you, this is the last time you'll be wronged. Go back and wait for me." Chloe bit her lip and nodded, looking wronged. Before leaving, she didn't forget to look back at me, her eyes carrying the triumph of a winner. The balloons in the living room were still floating, but the air was chillingly cold. Everyone exchanged glances, forcing awkward smiles and finding excuses to leave. After the crowd dispersed, I forced a smile and took Lily back to her bedroom. When I returned to the living room, I could no longer suppress the anger surging in my chest. "David, you and Chloe disgust me." He frowned deeply, his tone impatient. "Sarah, can you stop being unreasonable? Chloe just came to bring a gift. She didn't mean any harm." "Didn't mean any harm?" I sneered. The way she was acting, she was practically announcing to everyone that she's pregnant with your child, and you're still defending her? David, however, was righteous. "Her mind isn't as twisted as yours. Don't say such nasty things." "David, ask yourself honestly, from dating to marriage, from when you started your business until now, have I, Sarah, ever wronged you in any way? Now, for the sake of a mistress, you're even ruining our daughter's birthday?" His face changed slightly, but quickly returned to indifference. "I'll emphasize this one last time, Chloe didn't mean it, you're too sensitive." I almost burst out laughing. "Fine, since you're determined to protect her, let's stop pretending." I took a deep breath and said, word by word, "We'll divorce tomorrow. All family assets and Lily's custody go to me, and the company shares go to you." David's eyes instantly turned cold. "Sarah, you're finally showing your true colors? Ultimately, you're just greedy for money." I stared fixedly at him. "David, when you were dirt poor, who was it that stuck by you through the tough times? Now that you've made a name for yourself, you think I'm greedy for money?" He was silent for a moment, looking away. What happened in the past doesn't need to be brought up. Late at night, David drove back to Chloe's place. Seeing him enter, Chloe quickly ran over barefoot, her eyes instantly turning red. "David, I'm sorry." Her voice trembled, tears falling like pearls. "I just wanted to give Lily a gift, to get on good terms with her beforehand. I didn't expect it to turn out like this." When David saw Chloe crying like a weeping pear blossom, his heart ached, and he wiped her tears. "Don't cry, you're pregnant. You're so innocent, of course I know you meant well." Chloe leaned into his arms, sobbing, "Is Sarah's sister very young? It's all my fault." He rubbed his temples, his voice slightly tired. Chloe then lifted her face, tears still in her eyes, but a hint of joy flashed. "Really?" But she immediately put on a sympathetic expression. "Then, how will the assets be divided?" "I'm leaving with nothing." Chloe clenched her fists, her face still gentle. "That's right. After all, we wronged Sarah's sister. She then asked tentatively, "What about the company?" "The company is mine." Chloe secretly breathed a sigh of relief, but said, "It's just a shame that David's years of hard-earned fortune will all go to someone else. I'm the one at fault, so it's compensation for them, mother and daughter. As long as I still have the company, making money won't be a problem." Chloe was unwilling, but she didn't dare to show it and could only force a smile. "Okay. At least the company is still yours, in the future we." She paused deliberately, then shyly lowered her head. "David, I'll give you a son, and we'll start over." I always thought Lily was still young and didn't understand anything. But tonight, before she went to sleep, she suddenly held me tightly with her little hands, crying in my arms, "Mommy, are you and Daddy getting a divorce? That auntie tonight, Daddy is leaving us because of her, right?" My heart felt like it was tightly squeezed by something, aching to the point of suffocation. I held Lily and said gently and firmly, "Sweetheart, some things you might not be able to understand right now. But Mommy will never leave you, and will always love you." Lily cried herself to sleep in my arms. But even in her sleep, her little hands kept a tight grip on my fingers, afraid of being left behind. Between sleep and wakefulness, she even mumbled in her dreams, "I want Mommy. I want to be with Mommy." In that instant, tears streamed down my face. My family of origin wasn't happy to begin with. So I longed more than anyone for my child to grow up healthy and happy. But in the end, I couldn't fully protect my daughter. "Mommy is sorry." My mother arrived in a hurry at 6 the next morning. Lily was still asleep. My mother didn't even take off her coat and pulled me to the table. She solemnly and seriously handed me a bank card. "Sarah, there's a total of $700,000 on this card. I sold the old house for $400,000, and the remaining $300,000 is the money I've saved over the years, and what you gave me, I saved that too. Now, Mom is giving it all to you." My mother held my hand tightly, her voice trembling. "Mom doesn't have much ability. My whole life I've only known how to run a small stall and deal with code enforcement officers. Mom couldn't provide you with superior conditions. You suffered a lot following me." "But Sarah, we're not afraid, are we? It's just a divorce. You still have Mom. As long as Mom is alive, I'm your rock. From now on, Mom will help you raise Lily. We'll use this money to start a small business, and we can still have a good life." She forced a casual smile, looking up, not letting her tears fall. "Having lived this long, Mom understands completely. Men are all damn nonsense. You can't rely on them. From now on, the three of us will rely on each other. Living a good life is better than anything." I clutched the bank card tightly, choking up and unable to speak for a moment, filled with self-reproach and guilt. My mother, at her age, still had to worry about me. "I'm sorry, Mom." My mother hugged me heartbrokenly. "Why are you crying, silly girl? From now on, we don't have to serve a man anymore. How great is this life? Be a good girl, Sarah. Mom is always here." In the morning, David and I completed the divorce procedures. He left with nothing. I also agreed to give up the company shares. A week later, my father sent me a message. He said David's previous investments had been abruptly halted, causing the company's significant losses. The shareholders were discussing holding a board meeting to remove David from his CEO position. Furthermore, my father had not withdrawn his shares and had privately acquired a portion, becoming the largest shareholder of the company. In other words, the controlling shareholder of the company in the future would be my father. David had always been confident. To stabilize the situation, he boasted that he would personally fly to Germany to secure a client. The day David flew to Germany, I took moving workers to the house Chloe was currently living in, to evict her. Because that house was purchased by David during our marriage. It was marital property, and it was mine. I stood in the entranceway, watching coldly as Chloe's delicate face twisted little by little. "What are you doing? This is my home." She clutched her cell phone tightly. "I'm calling David." "Go ahead." I slowly scanned the room, but he's currently on a flight to Germany. His phone is off. David still didn't know. The series of major clients he had lost were all people connected to my father. This German client, in particular, was an old friend of my father's for many years. He couldn't possibly win him back. This was originally a trap set by my father to force him out. The moving workers had already started carrying things out. Chloe's Chanel jacket was carelessly draped over a cardboard box, like a rag. "Sarah!" Her voice was sharp, like scraping glass. "How dare you? Because David's name is on the deed. It's marital property, and it's mine now." Chloe's face instantly turned pale. Only then did I notice several Hermes boxes scattered at her feet. David was truly generous. I gestured to the workers with my chin. "Throw all these out. As for the clothes and shoes, consider them a gift, after all." I looked Chloe up and down. "After being intimate with him, you deserve some compensation for your trouble." Chloe suddenly ummed at me, but was stopped by the workers. She screamed hysterically, "Sarah, if David finds out you're treating me like this, he definitely won't let you off." I turned around calmly and walked towards the picture window. The sunlight outside was too harsh, making my eyes hurt. Behind me, I heard the sound of something falling. All of Chloe's dignity was trampled underfoot at that moment, crushed completely. After the last item was cleared out, I said to her coldly, "David can barely take care of himself now. What can he do to get revenge for you? Chloe, I'll be waiting to see your downfall." She didn't understand what I meant and wanted to ask more questions, but the people I had hired forcibly dragged her away. I locked the door, standing alone in the space filled with their presence. Their photo from the Maldives was still hanging on the wall. Chloe was in a bikini, pressed against David, smiling blindingly. I picked up the photo frame and smashed it against the wall. Glass shattered everywhere. I took out my cell phone and took a few pictures to send to a real estate agent. "It's ready to be listed." As I walked out the front door, the autumn wind swept a few dead leaves across my feet. I got into the car without looking back. In the rearview mirror, the villa grew smaller and smaller, finally becoming a blurry speck. Just like some people, they will eventually disappear completely from my life. A month later, David was forced by the board of directors to sell his shares at an extremely low price, or face jail time. His position was also forcibly terminated. He lost everything overnight. The day he left the company, a light rain was falling. David was carrying a cardboard box, his tie loose, his once spirited face now only showing dejection. The German partnership had not been salvaged. During the board vote, even his most trusted vice president had betrayed him. The rain wet his suit, and the chill seeped into his skin. "Vid." A steady voice spoke behind him. David turned and saw a man in a black coat standing under an umbrella, about 50-something, with a somewhat familiar look in his eyes. "You are Sarah's father." David's pupils constricted. Sarah's father wasn't supposed to be dead? Sarah's father sneered, rain dripping in strings from the edge of the umbrella. "2 years ago, when your funding chain broke, Sarah begged me to invest. My current wife hated her very much. To make things difficult for her, she made her kneel on the pebbles in the courtyard for 4 hours. When I got home, her knees were covered in blood, but she didn't say a word." Want to know why the German client suddenly backed out? Sarah's father's tone was hard. "You betrayed my daughter, and this is the price." David's eyes suddenly widened. "You heartless bastard, you weren't good enough for her." The rain grew heavier. David saw the Rolls-Royce parked behind Sarah's father. In the shadow of the back seat sat Sarah, wearing sunglasses. She was looking at him coldly now, as if looking at a stranger. He stumbled forward, trying to approach, but was stopped by Sarah's father. "David, if you hadn't betrayed Sarah, I would have, for her sake, ensured you a lifetime of peace. So reaching this point is your own doing. Stay away from my daughter from now on, and get lost." Only then did David finally understand. His success was given to him by Sarah. From the moment he cheated and decided to leave Sarah, his current downfall was sealed. Later, David tried to see me, but I turned him away every time. When David lost his CEO halo and was penniless, Chloe's ugly true colors gradually showed. She started complaining about living in a rental apartment, forcing David to move into his mother's current house. But David's mother's house is also mine. I had lent it to them to stay temporarily because the elderly woman was paralyzed and it was inconvenient for her, but I was collecting rent. His sister, the troublesome one, came to my door, calling me heartless. But she stopped coming later. I heard her brother had latched onto her, blocking her at her company entrance to demand money. Chloe's brother was uneducated and rough, with a tattoo covering one arm. Taking advantage of Chloe's pregnancy, he forced David to borrow money to buy a house, saying his sister couldn't endure this hardship. When David had no money, he went to David's sister to demand it. Chloe even threatened that if she didn't get a house, she would get an abortion and would absolutely not marry in a rental apartment. David called her heartless, saying it was a life. Chloe finally confessed. David, what did you think I was with you for? You're 8 years older than me. If it weren't for your money, would I, being this pretty, be with you? Look at yourself in the mirror now. If you still want the child, you have to listen to me. I don't care if you borrow money or steal it, I want a house, and the name on the deed must be mine. Don't expect me to be as foolish as Sarah, living in a cramped studio apartment with you, eating instant noodles and cheap bread. That's impossible. I'm not that stupid. David suddenly thought back to that cold winter 10 years ago. The night of Sarah's birthday, wrapped in one quilt with him, sitting on the makeshift bed in the rental apartment, shivering from the cold. On the small table in front of them was a small cake that cost 35 yuan. There was a candle on it. Before the candle burned out, Sarah clasped her hands together and made a wish seriously. He hugged Sarah tightly from behind, saying guiltily, "Sarah, I'm sorry, you've suffered following me. But believe me, I can do this." Sarah smiled and turned her head, pecking him on the lips. "I believe you. David, I'm not afraid of hardship, as long as we're good." Tears welled up in his eyes. David finally understood what it felt like to regret everything. Resentment surged through his chest. So he didn't even think and slapped Chloe, gritting his teeth. "Don't you dare mention Sarah." Seeing his sister hit, Chloe's brother immediately became enraged. He rushed forward and punched David in the face. The two men wrestled together. The room was smashed to pieces. The noise alerted the neighbors. Someone called the police. When the police arrived, both men were lying on the ground, their faces covered in blood. After basic treatment, they were each detained for 7 days. I started doing yoga again. 6 months later, I successfully opened a yoga studio. On the opening day, Jessica brought a group of wealthy friends to support me. She often kept me company in the 6 months or so after my divorce. She said, "Sarah, I envy you. Unlike me, even though Mark and I have been estranged for a long time, I just can't bring myself to divorce him. The financial ties are too strong." Years ago, Mark cheated with his secretary and Jessica caught him having an affair. Although Jessica paid the secretary off and sent her away, Mark also returned to the family. But you can't put the pieces back together. They were just making do. Yes, making do. Jessica said there were many people in the world who trapped themselves in the cage of marriage, for various reasons. Those who could successfully walk away from a failed marriage and live well were the lucky ones. I didn't close the studio until late at night. I planned to treat Jessica to a fancy dinner to reward her. Locked the door, turned around, and unexpectedly saw David. Under the streetlights, David stood on the steps, his suit wrinkled like pickled vegetables, the wrapping paper of the pink roses in his hand rustling. He smelled strongly of alcohol. When he looked up at me, the stubble on his chin was dark, and his eyes were bloodshot. "Sarah, congratulations on the opening." His voice was very hoarse, and the hand holding the flow airs was trembling. Jessica stepped forward and knocked the roses out of his hand. The sound of wrapping paper tearing scared away the stray cat on the side of the road. I found David disgusting to even look at, and I pulled Jessica, "Let's go." But David suddenly grabbed my wrist. "Sarah, is there really no chance for us at all?" I shook him off and continued walking. David chased after me, almost tripping on the steps. "Sarah, I know I was wrong. I really know I was wrong. Please give me one more chance, okay?" Jessica pulled me behind her and yelled, "David, who are you putting on the show for? If Chloe were still clinging to you, if the board hadn't kicked you out, would you even remember who Sarah is?" His shoulders slumped little by little. The alcohol made his eyes red, but couldn't hide the desperation in them. "I know I deserve this. If you know, then get lost." I interrupted him coldly. "But Lily is only 5, she needs a dad." The street light on the corner illuminated the tear stains on his face. Can we start over?" "Needs a dad?" My voice was terrifyingly calm. "When she had a fever of 104 degrees, you were in bed with Chloe. When she had her preschool performance, you were traveling with Chloe. Is that the father's love you give Lily?" He seemed hit by something, stumbling back 2 steps. The alcohol seemed to have sobered him up significantly, his face ashen. Jessica's car arrived. She opened the car door at the right moment. I bent down and got in, hearing David's broken voice, "At least, let me see Lily." I didn't look back. "You don't deserve to." The car started. In the rearview mirror, David was stumbling after the car, his tie fluttering in the wind like a noose. I never saw David again after that night. The yoga studio business got better and better. I quickly opened 2 more branches. My mother moved in with me and helped me pick up and drop off Lily. But I never mentioned recon ting with my father to her, afraid of bringing up her painful memories. My father met with me a few times in private. He transferred all the company shares to me. He said he would hire people to manage the company's business, and I didn't need to worry, I just had to wait to receive dividends every year. He said my stepmother didn't know about this. It was his way of compensating me. Talking about the past, I learned that my father was forced to marry my mother back then. They had significant cultural differences and no common language. My mother was from a rural background and hadn't gone to school. My father was from the city and only met my mother when he was down on his luck. That kind of marriage was bound to end in divorce. But cheating was always his fault. He said he didn't have the right to ask my mother for forgiveness, only hoped that my daughter and I could live better lives. I didn't have deep feelings for this father. But in handling the situation with David, he truly did what a father should do. He protected me completely. I didn't refuse the shares. After going through these things, I understood a principle: all feelings change, only having money in your hand is security. I will give Lily the best life. Later, much later, David started drinking heavily and became aimless. Chloe despised him for being poor and unwilling to suffer hardship with him, so she aborted the child and turned to hook up with a richer old man. But this time she bet on the wrong horse and ran into someone ruthless. After their affair was discovered, the man's wife found thugs to pour acid on Chloe's face. She was disfigured. I heard she couldn't accept her face and went crazy. Her family sent her to a mental hospital, and the once proud and arrogant David completely disappeared from the social scene. Before leaving the city, he met Mark once. "Mark, you were right, I regret it. If only I had listened to your advice back then." Mark told me David's right leg was crippled. The cause was Chloe's brother trying to extort a sum of money from him. David didn't have it, and Chloe's brother, drunk and angry, beat him until his leg was crippled. But none of this had anything to do with me anymore. There are no ifs in life. David and we ultimately became mere passers-by in each other's lives. End of novel.